Hello guys and welcome back. So now we have the viewing target. Let's try to make our player controller to view our viewing target. Okay, so because now if we play the game again, it doesn't do anything special. We're still looking through the center of Sparrow, and that's not cool at all. So in this case, we need to spawn the viewing target. Okay, that can be done by the player controller. Right, that's related to the player controller in this case. Let's go back here to our code. Okay, if we go to the player controller base in the header file, right, we don't have anything here. So let's go ahead and implement some of the basics. Like we do need to, I guess it's called protected or public. Virtual void begin play. Override, probably need the constructor. And what else do we need? Oh yeah, because we're doing multiplayer, right? So we need to actually do this locally, because the viewing target is just only related to the player locally, right? The server doesn't have to know where it's looking at, because it doesn't really matter. So that means the viewing target will not be replicating the movement. So set replicate movement to I think it's just B replicates movement something. Yeah, equals false. Okay. I guess that's not accessible. It's private. It's private. So I guess I have to use that interface, which is funny because in the blueprint class you are able to set replicate movement equals oh yeah, false. Okay, that should be fine. Resolve that compile time. Okay, I can do that in begin play, I guess, if that's better. You can see the power of Redder is telling you something is wrong. Right, so okay, so yeah, back here to our player controller base. We need to spawn one in some place, but that's not going to be in the begin play. The problem with multiplayer is that, you know, when you create an instance of an object, it fires the begin play right away. However, at that point, we may not actually have possessed the player pawn yet. So there is kind of like a racing problem. In this case, like what happens first, right? And you want to find the proper place to do that. And because this is locally, right? So we need to do that with this function. So override that virtual void acknowledge possession. Okay, that's the one we need to override with. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the implementation, and then we can call super acknowledge position, and then we can say, okay, if P should have anything, right? We can spawn our viewing target, which I could actually create a function called that to do that. So void spawn viewing target maybe. Okay, and then we need to hold a reference of that. So class a viewing target, view target. Okay, viewing target, I believe it's called a viewing target in this case. So this is going to be our reference to hold that. Okay, and here in the spawn viewing target, let's go in there. Actually, we haven't implemented yet. So alt enter and enter again to create implementation. Okay, so it's telling me this could be constant, I guess, or static, because we're not doing anything here yet. We could be doing something, but let's call this here, right? Spawn viewing target. Okay, and the reason I need to know I have a pawn is because I need to know where the pawn is to be able to spawn the viewing target. Okay, so then we can do the spawn. So f spawn f actor spawn parameters. Spawn parameters. And then here we can say spawn parameters. B allow collision, spawn collision handle override will be equals to e collision spawn always spawn handling method always spawn. Yeah, that should be it. Which, by the way, we don't need to do any collision detect. So basically, we can say camera boom do collision test will be equals to false. That way, we don't need to do collision test. Yeah, which will means that even we're penetrating through something, we're not gonna move the camera towards in front of the surface. Okay, that's not needed. Okay, so we do have a spawn parameters. And then we can spawn now. So get world and then spawn actor, right? And we can specify a class. In this case, that's going to be a viewing target. So I need to include that. Viewing target. Oh. Viewing target. Yeah, viewing target. And then here, I guess the next thing we need to specify is the location, rotation, and spawn parameters. Okay, location, rotation, that's just gonna be the same as our player pawn. So get pawn, because we're already possessing, we should already have that. I guess we can do just specify location and rotation ourselves. Vector location and then F rotator rotation. That way we can specify that, because now we do have the pawn, right? So P get actor location and then P uppercase P get actor rotation. Okay, right. So let me copy that. Here then we have to say location and rotation. That will be probably easier. And spawn parameters. Of course, that's going to be our viewing target equals to that. Excuse me. That's all we have to do, right? To have the spawn parameters. What's the problem here? Typo in. Oh, okay. Well, I can take the typo. I guess that's no issue here. Yeah, spawn parameters. So now we have spawned our viewing target. But here we do have a problem though. If we spawn it, right, and it is doing the spawning, but the problem is that the spawning I believe is always gonna happen on the server, right? Or it's probably better to be on the server. So in this case, it wouldn't be ideal if we just do a spawn right here locally. There might be some cheating ways to manipulate it so that the player can cheat. So I think for this kind of like important things, we probably need to change that to something else. So I think the better way of make it a bit more robust or cheat free is to ask the server to do it. So I'm gonna do a view function server reliable with validation, and the function will be called s spawn viewing target. So I'm just gonna copy that. Okay. Okay, now this is not necessary to be two functions. In this case, we could just have everything in there, but I just like to decouple the server calls with the functions, but that's up to you. I guess we probably will not try to do too much of those abstractions. So return true for the validate, and for the implementation, we just call spawn viewing target. Vector, actually just location and rotation. So basically we're asking the server to do it. Now when we create a server function by marking that, the function has to be written as it's here. Okay, and so you have an implementation, you have a validate. For validate, if there's nothing we need to really check, we just return true, and then for the implementation, we just do whatever we need for the server to do. The server will then spawn the actor, which means that this has to be replicated. So here we can say b replicates equals to true, right, for our viewing target. And back here to the player controller, yeah, we're spawning it, but here, right, this viewing target then has to be a replicated value. Okay, so here we can say, okay, you're replicated. So you property replicated using equals to rep view target. Okay, so what this does is basically saying, hey, this guy will be replicated, right? And when the replication is done, there is a function called onRep viewing target, which I implement, right? OnRep view target. Okay, this function will be called. Okay, and let's see, it has to be a U function, I guess. Yeah. Why is it not happy about it? Maybe you have some typo. This is not our. This is our. Okay. onRep view target. Okay, and I'm gonna go implement that. Whoops. Okay, so rep view target will be the place that the viewing target is actually replicated, and then we can say set a viewing target. Okay, and then we're gonna do view target. Okay, of course it's safer to check. I probably don't need to, but let's just be careful. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on top. Okay. Right, so the server does the creation of the viewing target, assign it on the server, then it's got replicated down to the local client, the player, local machine, and then that's when we set the view target to the view target spawned by the server. Okay, let's take a look at the transition. Let's take a look at that. So we need a second parameter transition. Rules, I guess we really don't need to do anything, just use the default setting would work. But let's see, F attachment transform rules, and then transform rules maybe be equals to F attachment transform rules. And then we construct one E attachment rules snap to target for the location, and for the rotation, let's just, I don't know, keep world, I guess. And then what's the third one? Scale rules, keep world, don't really care. And while simulate body is, I don't need to do that, so false. Yeah, that's set viewing target, and then we can use that transform rules. Let's see. Oh, you know what? That's not the thing. That transition parameters, not transform rules. What was I thinking? So let's go back here. So I was looking too fast. Let's just not worry about it now and see what happens. Okay, so this should in theory, oh, there's one thing actually. So we need to use networking, right? So we'll have to include net Unreal Network, and we need to implement this function to get the replication rules. So that's going to be void get left time replication parameters. I believe that's the one, but this is a long function. Let me go look for that. So I believe that's going to be in the actor. Yeah, props, not parameters. Let's just copy that. It's easier. Okay, so back here we just do a override. Okay, so we call super get left time. No, I don't need parentheses. Get left time replication props. This is a replicated props. This is the one that's how you define how do you want to replicate your attributes. And we have one here, so we have to define this function, override this function to tell how we want to replicate the viewing target. In this case, we don't do anything fancy. We just do the replication the normal way. So do rep left time, and then a player controller base. And then view target. That's it. That's going to tell it to be replicated. Okay, this in theory should allow us to look through the viewing target, because we set view target eventually here to just look at the viewing target. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and do a compilation, and we can try play the game, and then we should be able to see through the viewing target, which will have a spring arm. We'll be looking up top down. So let's take a look at that. Oops, we're not doing that, so there's something wrong. Okay, let's check. I guess we haven't really called it. Yeah, have we? Well, probably not. Let's go take a look at the here. Yeah, we're not calling the server version of that, so that's why we're doing this on the server. Otherwise the local ones wouldn't do anything. Yeah, so we're telling the server to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and compile this again. Yeah, we're looking at it from bottom down. So I guess the rotation angles should be a negative value, -70. Let's take a look at that. So if you're making a multiplayer game, start from the beginning. Play as client and 1. Yeah, now we do have this. Probably looking at it too far away. Yeah, that's too far away. I believe this is probably better. So I need to change the arm length. So here, maybe 1000. It's 4 times closer. Give this another try. Yeah, it's not close enough. You know what? Let's go to the next video and we can set up some controls, maybe to control like how fast, how close we're zooming in. Okay. Because then we can really fine tune it, or maybe we can have like a blueprint class, maybe 500 or something. Yeah, it should be one of these things, one of those values that will work properly. Yeah, that's 500 is close enough. I guess 800. Okay, yeah, you go to refine the value here. In the next video, we're gonna try to talk about scrolling maybe. Okay, see you guys next time.